Public Safety Minister Mendicino and Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly in Etobicoke for an announcement this morning on gun violence. Let's listen to that live.
Matters that are related to the economy and helping Canadians address some of the pressures that we've seen around cost of living and inflation. You've always been out front on that issue, on climate change, on international human rights. And Yvonne, in particular, I want to thank you for your incredible leadership on Ukraine. I know somebody that we all listen to very carefully and very closely, and something that I know that Minister Joly profits from very much as we continue to push back against the awful and brutal attacks that are being carried out by Mr. Putin, which is obviously unacceptable, and we thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you, Mel, for coming today. And this is a very pleasant collaboration to be able to work together with you on the matter of public safety, and in particular on the matter that relates to keeping our communities safe vis-a-vis the violence that we have seen that is caused by guns and handguns. You know, just yesterday I was in Montreal, in your hometown, to make an important announcement, which I'll come to in a moment. But it is really important that all Canadians know that that fighting against gun violence isn't just about one department. It's not just about public safety or law enforcement. It's about taking a whole of government approach, and hopefully as we start to get into the details of today's announcement, Canadians will see and will feel that we are working very closely together to meet their needs, because there's no doubt that there is a very pressing issue that lies before us, and that is the need, the necessity to eradicate gun violence, one of the most pernicious and complex social harms that we see visited upon our communities every day. And you know, this isn't just about an important policy announcement. This is about paying homage to every single person who has been impacted by gun violence. I have had the privilege of coming to know survivors and victims who have been touched by gun violence right across this country. Here in my hometown, I represent a riding just a little bit north of here in Eglinton Lawrence, which is unfortunately one of those communities that sees way more than its fair share of gun violence, and it has to stop. Et même à Montréal, pendant les dernières journées, il y a 3 autres personnes qui étaient tuées au cause de la violence causée par les armes à feu. C'est exactement la raison que j'étais là avec le ministre Rodriguez pour annoncer une nouvelle collaboration avec la province de Québec pour prévenir la violence causée par les armes à feu. Donc il faut dire tout d'abord qu'il y a une urgence à la situation. We have to continue to act. So it is precisely because of those challenges that our government has been acting, and I've been acting as Minister of Public Safety, and this has been a very important week in the fight against gun violence right across the country. On Monday, we were in Northern Ontario to bring new support for the city of Sudbury to stop gun violence before it starts. That city will be getting $2 million from the Building Safer Communities Fund to help support local programs that can tackle gun crime at its root causes. On Wednesday, I was in Sault Ste. Marie at one of Canada's busiest border crossings to see firsthand the work that CBSA and our frontline border agents are doing in the fight against illegal smuggling of guns into our country. Et comme j'avais déjà dit hier, j'étais à Montréal pour annoncer l'octroi de près de 42 millions de dollars du fonds pour des collectivités plus sécuritaires aux villes du Québec. J'étais particulièrement frappé par les défenseurs communautaires que j'ai rencontrés, des gens qui aident les jeunes à se préparer à réussir dans la vie. And today, I'm pleased to be back right here in Toronto, in our hometown, Yvonne, a place that, as I said, has seen far too much gun violence and impacting far too many people in far too communities. And, you know, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the important partnership that we have at the federal level with my friend and my colleague, Mayor John Tory, who I know is somebody that feels very passionately that we have to do more. not at just one level of government, but across all government levels. And so I do want to take a moment to acknowledge his contribution in the presence of members of the Toronto Police Service who do outstanding work, as do all of our police services right across the country in the fight against gun violence, perhaps one of the most difficult and pressing challenges that we face today. Before I talk about the details of the announcement, let me take a step back and give all of Canadians a bit of an overview of the comprehensive strategy that the Government of Canada is taking to tackle gun violence. The centerpiece right now of that strategy is, of course, Bill C-21, which in shorthand would do three important things. First, introduce and implement a national handgun freeze, reversing the growth of that type of gun on approximation of about 55,000 new registrations each and every year, so people can visualize exactly how much that particular style of gun is growing in Canada. Second, it would introduce red flag and yellow flag protocols to reverse the alarming trend in the connection between domestic violence and the presence of guns, which between 2013 and 2019 went up over 30%. And third and finally, Bill C-21 would introduce new tools for law enforcement, including stiffer sentences for those organized criminals, those hardened criminals who would try to attempt to terrorize our communities by illegally importing them across our borders and then trafficking them within our communities, but equally give them new wiretapping powers so that we could interdict those guns before they get into our communities in the first instance. I said when we introduced this bill that we needed to pass it as quickly as possible, and I'm continuing to call on all MPs to read the bill, to study the bill, and to put it into law as quickly as possible. We've made some good headway, and I do want to acknowledge with our colleagues in the NDP, as well as even the Bloc Québécois, which I'm grateful for, and we're going to continue to work with those parties. Unfortunately, it's the Conservatives who continue to obstruct the passage of this bill, something that we have become very familiar with over the last number of years as they continue to block efforts to pass C-21, as they have said in the past that they would pull back on the national ban that we put into place for assault-style rifles, which have led to some of the most devastating shooting tragedies right across the country. It's one of the reasons why it's important, it's imperative that we continue to move forward with the mandatory buyback program, which will see those AR-15 style rifles removed from our communities once and for all. They have no place in any community, in any neighborhood, in any street. They have one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to...
All right, listening to federal officials making an announcement about gun violence in the city. They're talking about a handgun ban and a ban on AR-15 and, of course, the gun buyback program. This announcement alongside the federal Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly and local MB Yvonne Baker taking place right now in Toronto. Much more on this throughout the morning here on CP24.